They were the perfect family, finding a new life in a new home.
You should join the club, Matthew.
But the seduction of a high new lifestyle
It's a little scary, Pat. I'm a little scared.
became an invitation to terror.
I will personally see to it that your membership here is as pleasurable as possible. You want me.
Susan Lucci, Robert Urich, Joanna Cassidy, Invitation to Hell. Next.
Hey there, OSB Communications, and welcome back to another review, this time of Invitation to Hell. Wes Craven's second TV movie, the second TV movie that he's directed. This is not the last one, because he would go on to direct, I think, a couple more TV movies after this. This one, I'm not the biggest fan of. Honestly, I thought this was pretty lame and forgettable. Which is too bad, because it really had a great cast. You have Robert Urich, you have Joe Regalbuto, you have Kevin McCarthy, you have Solei Frye, you got Barrett Oliver, the Sebastian from Neverending Story. You also have Susan Lucci, Joanna Cassidy. You also have a short little cameo from Michael Barrett, who plays just a guy who's just in the club, just running up the stairs. You don't even see his face. You just recognize him because he's a bald, tall guy walking around, and he looks completely different than anyone else in the movie. You also have Nicholas Worth, who plays a security guard in this movie, and he was also in Swamp Thing. And then you have Jason Presson, one of the actors from Explorers, is in this as well. He plays a bully. So, complete different character than what he played in Explorers. But yeah, it's got a great cast. Yeah, you got a lot of these actors, really talented actors and actresses, and the teleplay by Richard Rothstein is all right. It's there, but there's just not enough meat on the bone, so to speak, to make the story last for an hour and a half. That's the big problem the film has. It's a film and it's a story that would be 10 times more effective if it was an hour long or 30 minutes, like a segment of the 80s Twilight Zone. And what's interesting about that is that Wes Craven, I think a little bit after this, he went on to direct episodes of the 80s Twilight Zone. So, which were more like what this movie is. This movie's not really a horror film. This cover is a complete lie. There's no skulls in this movie. There's no scene of Susan Lucci burning and then her skull showing. There's none of that. There's none of this. There's none of this at all. The closest you could get to Susan Lucci's face burning is a little bit of actual reality, because on the set there was extreme heat, a bunch of fire, and I guess her hair got singed and scorched from the intense heat, because the set for the residential interior of the film was constructed on a soundstage at the Culver City Studios on Washington Boulevard, the old Selznick studio of Gone with the Wind. The production offices were also located at the studio. The interior living room stage set required a turnaround for the scenario effects script requirement, with wind and bricks flying from and through the walls. And on the same soundstage, the health club set was erected with 3 thicknesses of plaster wallboard covering the wooden stage flooring set footprint, and this was required for the controlled fire effects when Susan Lucci introduces her hellish character's charms. And the translucent vacuum-formed panels used in the set wall panels actually started melting from the intense heat radiated from the gas line pipes, which were positioned to create the aisle of fire Susan Lucci walked through. The fire sequence required several retakes, causing the plastic material to melt. And viewing the sequence, you could see the vacuum-formed 4-inch deep pyramid pattern plastics design sag on camera. And this is where Susan Lucci's costume and hair was singed and scorched from the intense heat. So is that where they got this cover art from? I mean, that would be an interesting story. They got it from an on-set accident. So it's not really a horror film. Because pretty much what it is Just the plot is this. An invitation to join a country club turns into an invitation to hell. Matt Winslow, played by Robert Urich, and his family move to California, where they settle in an affluent community where people enjoy the good life. Because they know the right people, the top people. Matt is persuaded by his wife, Joanna Cassidy, and his son to join the exclusive country club. After a private tour of the club with the sexy director, Miss Jones, Jennifer Jones, by the way, played by Susan Lucci, Jessica Jones, not Jennifer. Jessica Jones is funny because that's the name of a Marvel comics character, is Jessica Jones. So then Matt notices disturbing changes in his wife and son and his daughter and the dark, sinister secrets that lurk within the club. Pretty much it's predictable. That's one of the huge problems this film has. It's predictable. Everything that this movie sets up is predictable. You know how it's going to end. You know what the big twist is. Mainly, you know, just from the title, just from the synopsis, you know what's going to go on. Oh, they keep talking about the club, and you should join the club, and all the powerful people are in the club, and blah, 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 blah. And then there's even like a scene that about an hour and 7 minutes into the movie where Robert Urich finally gets on the computer and figures out something that anyone who has ever watched this movie already knew about an hour before he did, that, oh my God, everyone that got a promotion in the company are members of the club. Ah! And I'm like, I've seen this before. I know what this is. I know where this is going. So it makes it really tedious because you know exactly where this movie is going to go. You know each step it's going to take, and it just makes it a pointless exercise in futility. And they keep mentioning the club so many times that I swear to God, if I heard it one more time, I was gonna take out a club and beat this movie over the head with it so it could stop talking about the club. Because I don't want to hear about the fucking club. I don't want to hear about the club. Okay, the only club I want to hear about is a club sandwich. And right now, a club sandwich sounds pretty damn delicious. It sounds like a better way of spending my time than watching this movie, let alone talking about it. But anyway, shut the fuck up about the club already. I get it. It's called Steaming Springs. And oh yeah, Steaming Springs, because in order to join the club, you have to go to the springs, which of course is hell. And we don't figure, and you don't even. It's not until the last 10, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes of the movie where you finally get to see your suspicions confirmed. I mean, really, it's. I figured out where this movie was going about 15, 20 minutes in, and this movie's like an hour and 35 minutes. So. That's a huge problem the film has, but it's not completely without its merits. I really like the score by Sylvester LeVay, which I actually posted on my channel, so that shows you how much I like it. I think it's a quaint, memorable piece of music. It stuck in my head ever since I saw the film, and I like that. I like that bit of music. I think the cast is pretty solid. We got some good cast members. Robert Urich does an alright job performance-wise. So does Joanna Cassidy. Susan Lucci, it's not really the best performance in the world, but it was alright. There were there's one scene where Solei Frye is like tearing up her pet bunny, her like stuffed bunny. It's like, bad bunny, and like beating the shit out of the bunny and ripping it apart with a crowbar.
Chrissy?
Welcome home, Daddy.
It's nice to be home, Chrissy.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. We don't like nice. We don't like nice. We do not like nice. We do not like
Daddy,
nice.
Okay.
Get away from me!
You're not my daughter. Tell me where my daughter is.
But I am your daughter.
She's down there through those springs, isn't she?
Good, Chrissy is. But now you've just got bad, Chrissy. Bad, 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 Chrissy.
Tell me how I can get her back. Tell me.
You can't. You're burned. No, leave me alone. Put me down. Get away from me.
Chrissy, stop it. You'll hurt yourself. Chrissy, I'm gonna get you back the only way I know how. Honey?
And that part was eerie, because the concept of your family being replaced by basically demons wearing your family's skin, that's pretty eerie and pretty freaky in a lot of ways. But it wasn't necessarily not really that scary. This movie isn't scary at all, really. It isn't. It's very tame. And unlike Summer of Fear didn't take itself too seriously. It felt like a movie that had its tongue firmly in its left cheek throughout the entire thing. There was jokes, there's things and so forth like that. This, for the most part, took itself seriously, which was its downfall. This needed to have more fun with its concept. I mean, it opens up, like, right out of the blue. Susan Lucci just lights some dude on fire in a limo. What the fuck? There's no context. It's just, well, walk up, you're on fire. Opening credits. So there's not that much that, so if the movie was more like the opening sequence and it was just batshit crazy, then it would be more enjoyable actually. But no, for the most part, it just takes itself too seriously. And that really hurts the movie. It makes it really dull. And so, but other sort of things I liked about it, because I'll get into more stuff that I didn't. There's mainly this movie's full of mostly cons more than anything else. But like I said, I like Robert Urich. I like Barrett Oliver. Solei Moon Frye did alright with what she had to do. I like Joanna Cassidy, and Joe Regalbuto, the little bit that he was in, I liked as well. He played one of Robert Urich's buddies in the movie. And Wes's direction was fine. There's nothing about his direction that was bad. It was solid once again, and there was nothing bad about it. It was good for TV movie standards. The editing was all right, nothing spectacular, but it was all right. The art direction I really did find really good, especially the look of hell. Some really great looking matte paintings, and that's what and it was so impressive to people in 1984 that it was actually nominated for a Primetime Emmy. So that's an example of an Emmy award where originally when I heard, oh, it's nominated for an Emmy, I was like, this movie is nominated for an Emmy? But then you find out it was nominated for Outstanding Art Direction for limited series or special for the art direction by Hub Braden and Bill Harp. And I agree with that because they did a great job with the art direction and the set design. So I like the look of hell at the end. I like the little touch that they have at the end when Robert Urich jumps off the cliff face in hell and ends up in an alternate world that looks like the same world as his neighborhood, and it's like all shot in this weird pink and blue filter, and that made it have this very weird, unearthly feel to it and look to it, and I like that. And then I really liked the whole, I knew where it was going. I knew that when they introduced the spacesuit, which could withstand extreme heat and could shoot lasers and light things on fire with a flamethrower, I knew, and it could monitor and point out which forms of life forms are hostile and which aren't, and which are human and which aren't. I knew that it was going to maybe which are human and which weren't, and so forth and so on. Because I got my grammar mixed up there. But the suit, I knew when they introduced it, I knew it was going to be used in the climax. Robert Urich was going to put it on, and as soon as I found out about this door, that people are going into the springs to initiate themselves into the club, I knew that it was going to be hell, and Robert Urich was going to put on the spacesuit and go into hell. And that's what happened at the end. So in that regard, it was pretty predictable. Once again, like pretty much everything else. But it was still a good idea, and I liked it because it was predictable. I knew it was going to happen, but I was still waiting for it to happen. The film just sticked around for too long for my taste, and before it showed me what happened. That's why the film would have been much more effective as an hour or 30-minute long segment of an anthology show. There's not enough there for a full-length TV movie. So, but I did like the film. I did like the scenes in hell. So I did like the scenes in Invitation to Hell where Robert Urich put on the spacesuit and went into hell. I did like that. But yeah. But really, though, that's honestly pretty much the only pros I can come up with of the film. I mean, good visual art direction, some decent visual effects for a TV movie, good score with Sylvester LeVay, some good performances by the cast, solid direction by Wes Craven. But the screenplay, other than the cool concept of putting on a spacesuit and going into hell, of Richard Rothstein, it's just cliched. It's been there, done that. It's trying to portray yuppies as evil, and yuppies, there's something more to these yuppies. You know, they're not human. That's why, and if I want to watch that, I'll watch Society. It's a much better film than this. I know this predated Society, but Society does everything that this movie does better. And it's definitely a hell of a lot more creepy and scary. This isn't scary. I know it's a TV movie, but, I mean, it could have tried a little bit harder. Because the scariest thing I can think of is Susan Lucci's hair in this movie, which looks like she stuck her finger in a light socket, and her costume. It looks like she made it by hand. She looks like a fucking glitter whore in this movie. That's the scariest thing about this film. Susan Lucci is as a glitter whore. But that's really about it. I mean, I really don't know what else to say about this movie. There's not really much to say. The screenplay, for the most part, had a good idea, but it's full of padding, so it just feels like it's wasting your time. It's a waste of a good cast. It's a waste of Wes Craven's talents, even though he does all right with the direction. It's not like he had that much to work with. It's predictable, lame, forgettable, pretty pathetic stuff. It really is. So I really don't know what to say about Invitation to Hell, except if it's a rate out of 5 stars, I'm going to give it 1.5, and that's for some of the performances, and for the score, and for some of the art direction, and the sequences where Robert Urich puts on the spacesuit and goes into hell. But other than that, there's really not much I can recommend when it comes to this movie. I mean, check it out, I guess, if you're curious, and I mean, unless you're doing a marathon of Wes Craven films, I see no reason to really break the bank or really go out and seek this one out, because there's really not much to recommend about Invitation to Hell. It's not a movie I hated, but it's not a movie I liked either. So, I mean, yeah, it's not so bad that I'm like, oh, this movie is the worst thing I've ever seen. No, but it's still not anything I have any desire to watch ever again. But anyway, thank you for watching my review of Invitation to Hell, and I will see you guys later. See ya.
Dear God.